Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Tony, and if you follow me you know that we are now closing in on the final stages of the build of this amazing Jagdpanther G2 from Armortek. This huge, beautiful 1:6 scale full metal kit, and I just am in love with this build and this kit, and I really hope that you are enjoying the journey with me. So we are coming to the closing stages of the build, but there's a lot more work to do. There's a lot of detailing to do. The skirting's got to be done. I'm going to do loads of welding, and of course the lengthy process of painting. In the last video I assembled and installed the rear plate with the access door, and I modded the rear decks to make my life a lot easier when it comes to removing it off to get to all my electronics. I have to say, one of you very sharp-eyed followers pointed out that this vent, this last one on the rear, on the back here, is on the wrong way around. The slope should be towards the hull. So apologies for that. I completely overlooked that, and I will get around to swapping that around ahead of painting, but I'm really keen now to move on with the roof. And in today's session it's going to be all about this roof and all the components that are going to be needed. It's quite a lot of work involved in this, and then I've got to try and line it up so that it goes into these holes, so that I'll be able to, just using a couple of fixings to secure the roof down, so I don't have to worry about destroying any of the detailing. I may end up having to use magnets. I haven't decided yet, and we don't know yet until we get past this stage. And then of course when I've got the roof on, we're going to start looking at all the welding before I put the skirtings on. And I'm also thinking about painting already, and with that in mind I'm really happy because I've just received from Germany, I'll get my, one or two of you asked me in the past about where I'll get my decals from, and I get them from this company called Peddinghaus on, I hope I pronounced that correctly, on eBay. This is what I've used my last few tanks, and these come perfectly scaled for your 1:6 scale armor. So if you're building one of these tanks, and any division, well, pretty much they have a lot of World War II era vehicles from both sides of the axis. They are on there. This is the correct division for this vehicle, so I'm super buzzed about that, and they're really inexpensive compared to what you're doing on the tank. So now I'm going to go off and do my normal hunt for all the fixings, all the parts, and then I'll reposition the camera and we'll get cracking. Okay, so I've got all the parts now for the roof. There's a lot of them, and there's a lot of fixings as well. And kind of a sad moment, because this is the first bag that I've completely emptied. Bag one is now empty, and yeah, a sad moment because it tells me that I'm coming towards the end of the build. So let's just pop that out of the way. We've got the main roof panel itself here within its original protected cover. Just going to unpack all this. And there you have it. That's it. Look at that. I think that's the orientation. I'll just double check. I don't think there's I think that's the right orientation. Potentially no. I think that is it there. That's it there. So that's that. I'm going to clean this up obviously before we put any parts on it. Let's just go and open up all these bags. So this is, what's this called? This is the upper hatch half. Look at that, just beautiful, just stunning. Look at that. Oh, I just can't get over how well made these parts are. And I know every time I handle these parts, I get such a buzz, and it's a real reminder about how good Armortek are and the quality of the parts that they make. And again, another hatch. Look at that. So that's that. I can tell by looking at the illustration on the diagram what parts are what. So I don't need to know. I don't need to worry about the part numbers now. They're pretty obvious. That will go with that. And then we've got, what's this? This the vent and spacer. I will keep all that together. So that's all the parts that we need to build that up. More of these. Now there's some 3D printed parts that you get with the kit and normally packed with the brass parts, and they're in this little bag here. So if you're looking for the parts that go in the lenses, so to speak, Here are the leftover ones here. So these will sit underneath like that kind of thing. I mean, these used to be clear acrylic, but obviously they've chosen to do them in, it looks like 3D printed, but anyway, so they all need to be painted, and we can get rid of that and that. More parts. Just beautiful. Just beautiful. Just love these parts. And then I'm just going to open all these up. These all to do. There's a little hatch there. I think that goes on there. I might be wrong, but I think it goes on there. There's sort of various parts which will come obvious very soon. Grenade launcher. I know there are mods that you can do to these to make them look even more realistic, but that's that on its own. And then we have more parts of the, you can see, just the reason I'm doing this is just to show you what's involved in this part. It's a lot of work. Look at that. Just beautiful. Just all these parts beautifully thought out. And there's the little turret bosses. I know you can get these from armor packs with the weld around them, but I'm just going to do some dummy welding around those. So once they're on, they'll dummy weld them. And we have this sort of, what do they call this? This is the rear kidney hatch, is it? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, so that'll go on there. Sorry. It's sort of going to go on that part there. Very similar to the little headser. And then we have the scope base. I mean, that's again just beautifully made. Just beautifully made. And that is it. Apart from all the fixings, of course. Various different sizes and gauges required. So we'll clear this off now. And I'll get ready to start assembling these parts. Okay, so we're going to start here with this little rotating scope. So that piece fits inside that. You've got one of these that gets Loctite and glued into that, and then that gets glued into that. This gets bolted down, and this obviously rotates. And I guess if you were clever enough, you could probably cut a hole through here, put a sort of screw through that, and then attach a servo to it, so you can get it to rotate, you know, as part of the functionality of the tank. But I'm not bothered about that. So first things first, let's just get these glued in. Now these, as I said before, these used to come as a clear piece of perspex or acrylic, but now they just come as they look like 3D printed pieces to me. So you have this little scope here, which would normally be glass, and I've found that the best way to replicate glass on that is to use like a highly gloss chrome type paint. So what I'll do, once everything's all painted and it's all done, and I'll go around with my little detailing brush and I'll pick up and put the chrome in there, so you get that little bit of a reflective surface, which I think is important. So really this is a really simple task. Now I have cleaned all these parts up, so it's just going to get Loctite glued into position. Hold that. Is that? Yes, it is. Hold that down for a minute, and then these sort of scope protector will just go on there. So position it dead center. Then that goes over the top of that. Just going to line up the holes like so. Put the lid back on that, of course. And we have these M3 countersunk fixings that go through here. Get my thread locker. Hold that. try and feed that through the hole without pushing it. Don't want to damage the fixing. Put a couple on there. That's it. Then I'm going to hold that with my fingers, flip it over, and then wind an M3 nut onto the back of it. These are, they call for 16mm fixings, which I think is a bit too much, but what I'll do, as I've done before, I'll go around, once I've got all this done, I'll go around to my Dremel and I'll just trim off all the excess thread. That's the one I want. Just hold the nut on the back of that. Just make sure, I'll tell you what, put one more in so it's all aligned, and then we can go around and tighten everything up. Yeah, there's a lot of excess thread on there. I think you could probably get away with more like a 10mm countersunk, but never mind. I don't think there's any reason to have them like that. So again, I'm just going to spin that back round, tighten that up, and I want to make sure that that still spins. Again, it's not essential, but it would have been I think it would have been a nice thing to do, is to put a servo on that to, you know, I've seen people do it with the grenade launchers, right, special. Way too advanced for me at this stage anyway. Maybe further down the line I'll start thinking about getting into stuff like that. I mean, I've said many times, these kits from Armortek are brilliant because they really do allow the builder to use their imagination to really transform it. Of course, you can build it straight out of the box, but to personalize it, you know, doing things like putting a servo on that, whatever, that would that's what gives you the advantage. Sorry, it's a really nice day here in the UK, and all the bikers are out. I'm an ex-biker myself. The only reason I stopped riding a bike is because I had a really bad accident, and my wife did threaten me that if I ever got back in the bike again, that she would personally use it as a vendetta against me and seek me out and run me over herself. So anyway, the background noise is because it's a lovely day, and where we live in the countryside, it's a beautiful ride. So almost done here. Can't believe we're almost at the point now where, yeah, the final stages of the build. Don't think my socket can reach that. No, I can't. So spin that back around again. And the very last fixing for this. Spin that back round. I'm really excited about seeing this roof go on. If I can get this nut on, would be good. There's always one, and that's the one. It still spins. Beautiful. Yeah, look, all that excess thread, I really don't like that. That's going to have to come off. But I'll do that before we put this onto the tank. And the only reason I take that off because I don't want it getting snagged on cables and things like that. So that's that part. Okay, so we're onto this vent now. There's a number of components for this. There's some spacers here. There's this mount here, and then there's a a panel that goes on the top like that, and there is a way of orientating that. Let me just check this. I can see that these holes, they need to be cleaned up a little bit. It's only because where they've been machined, and I don't want to force the fixings through. So I'm just using any old tool really, just to clean off that little overrun of aluminium. So that's that. Make sure that these fixings go through, and they do now. That's perfect. Right. So we have this bottom disc, which should align with these holes. Now all these holes are the same. Only 2 of them go through and get fixed into the main roof itself. So all we've got to do here is just align all these things up. Align that up. And then this piece, where you've got these parts here that are sticking out, you need to align these with these raised areas. So just put that down there. Put that on there. It's roughly aligned. Now I'm going to take one of these large 30mm countersink fixings. Pass that through. Like that. Pass that through the roof itself. Spin that over. Put a thread locker on that. And just spin that on, but keep it loose for now. Then we'll take the other one. Try and get all that aligned up. It will go. There we go. Again, just spin that around. Thread locker on there. And wind the nut on. Don't think my socket's gonna. No. So I'm just gonna have to hold that from underneath while I tighten that up. I can see all the other holes are aligned, and that's that. Now there is 4 16mm countersunk fixings that go in here, but I cannot see how. I think they just get glued in. I'll just check that, and then I'll be back. So these are just going to get glued in. Just going to toss those in there like that. The easiest fixing job so far on this build. Yep. That goes in there. And while we've got the glue out, there's a couple of little holes here and here. Don't know if you can see that on the camera. There's a 6mm pin that goes in there, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue in that. It's really tiny, but I should be able to get this in. Push that into place. Push that into place. Just use anything I can get my hands on just to push that down. And then this piece here has got reciprocating holes, tiny little holes here, and that is for the pin. So I'm just going to pop a tiny little bit of glue in there. There. Now I'll try and line that up. There you go. And that just pushes down firmly into place. And that's that part done. Right, so we've got this other vent here. I'm going to do that now. And that is secured with, what have we got? 16mm, 2.5mm hex fixings. So let's just get one. Let's spin that around. I just need to put a reciprocating nut on that, or opposing nut I should say. Of course, there we go. Now just need to line that hole up. Do the other one. I can actually see there's a bit of swarf through that. Go back and do that in a second. Bit of thread locker on there. And again, I'm using my fingers, but because I use that barrier cream on my hands, so it protects me using these glues and oils and grease and everything else. Right, now let's just see, there's a bit of swarf in there. There we go. We can saw that popped out. We'll put the final two on. Just don't want to put that on there. Might just need a bit of persuasion. Yep. These fit perfectly, so there's no need to take any of the excess off of those. But I don't know if you can see in the camera, they're definitely going to have to be trimmed with my Dremel, which I'll do in a second. And the last one of these, slowly starting to come together. That's that. That's that. I meant to say, I actually filed down the edges of these to take the sharp edge off. I meant to tell you that before. So I actually used my bench sander before I started sticking them in. Just it takes off the sharp edges. I think it'll look better, and also it'll be it'll help the paint adhere to the metal a lot easier. So I meant to tell you that earlier. Right, let's go on to the next part. So the next part I'm going to look at is this, and this is the sliding hatch. It's very similar to the Hetzer, but I can see what's going on here. Yeah, it's got kind of quite a rough edge on there and there, and there's also some imperfections on it here. So to get this to look, or to operate correctly, yeah, that's really sharp there. So I'm going to actually use my bench sander to smooth that down, because the principle is that that slides around that, and I like to have it articulated. And then we've got a couple of guides that go on like so. And I can see that that is going to be, there's two of these, and they act as guides. And I want this to move. I think it's quite smart. And I had the same thing on the Hetzer, but that one's all right. I can see that one's going to be all right. That would be all right as well. So, but before I do anything, I'm going to have to clean up this edge on my bench sander, and this edge, flatten this surface off a bit, take off these sharp edges, and then hopefully that will slide better. Just going to do this, but apologies about the noise. feels so much better. No sharp edges, all the imperfections now removed. Yeah, so I'm hoping that that's going to work now. Right, so that's now done. I'm pleased with that. Right, so we've got the little slide that needs to be bolted into place. The one thing it does say on here, and I'm double checking, I'm not going completely mad, it asks for an M2.5 by 6 mil like a butt, but this is definitely not. This hole here is not a 2.5, and I'll show you. This is a 2.5 mil screw, and it's not going to bite with that. So these should be yeah, M3 6 mil, and there is enough in the kit to be able to let you do this. So first things first, need a bit of thread locker on that. I'm going to pop, how about put it the white way round, sorry. So that needs to come in from behind, like that, and then that will just going to wind that on. Let's spin that round. Pop the other one on. I'm not going to tighten these up because I don't, you know, I might need to loosen them off a little bit to allow the panel to move and slide. So tighten it, release. Tighten, release. It's a bit too loose. So that goes into that. And the whole idea is that this will slide. So what I'm going to do is now just turn that back up the other way. Turn that off. Tighten that off. Now we can put these two little brackets in. I think this is the same deal. What's it ask us for there? Yeah, it says 2.5, but it's not. It needs to be the M3 fixings. I need a couple of those. Fortunately, Armortek always give us extra fittings or extra fasteners, which is brilliant and then very generous of them. Right, so same deal as before. I'm just going to put a little bit of thread locker on that. Sorry, pop that on there.
A few moments later.
What are we on to next? We're going to go and do this part here. Okay, so the next job I'm going to do is this little hatch that goes on this piece here. So that hatch goes on there like that and just lifts up. So I want to put the other part of the hinge on it, and I'm going to do this away from that. And you've got these two parts here, and so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass, well, I might put the pin in here. So we've got these 10mm 2.5mm gauge pin, that's gone in nice and easy, and then I'll try not to try and get that pin right. So I'm probably going to have to do here is use this set of pliers, these nylon protected pliers, just to force that pin down. Just want it to go in, be a little bit flush. That's it. And that will go on there. Like that. And that's going to work beautifully. And again, once we've got all this on, I'll put a little dab of super glue on this side just to stop that pin from travelling out. So we do the same now on this side. So same deal. Maybe going this side a bit better. I think that just needs a little bit of gentle persuasion. Let's use that. That's it. It's going in now. Get the pliers again. That's got it perfect. Right. So that's that. So we've now got both of them. Hopefully that goes on that side with no trouble. A little bit tighter. It is a little bit tighter, that one. So do use the pliers again just to push that. There we go. That's in now. You probably just bang that out a little bit, and then that goes in that side. And when we're ready, we'll then bolt this through into this plate here. Okay, so the next job is to fix this down onto this plate, but before we can do that, we need to insert this and go ahead and install the top plate with the little hinge that we've just done. So this, on the back of this, has got a recess. Sorry, it's got a recess on the back of this. This plate sits inside that, and let's have a look. Looking at the instructions, it shows you it's slightly off at an angle, and I've also checked my reference book and it's exactly the same. So this just gets fixed into this position. So I think the idea of this is supposed to rotate, but I'm actually looking at this now. I don't know if they can pick that up on the camera, but that's proud of that. That doesn't sit flush. It's almost like it needed to be machined a little bit more just on this edge. So I think once I get that in, I'm going to have to use my bench sander to take that edge off, otherwise it will not sit flush. So anyway, let's crack on, see how we get on. So before I fix this down, I'm going to put this on. So that's the orientation of it there. I don't think it really matters because it is supposed to spin around. Then we have the top plate. That goes on there like that. Then we have our hinge that we've just made up. And that's that. Like so. Now, just going to put some thread locker on that. And using an M3 nut, just wind that into position. Just tighten that up. And another one. Just tighten that up. And now we'll be able to see. No, it's absolutely fine, because the hole's bigger than the disc, so that's actually fine. So now we can put this in. The hinge is working all right, is it? Let's have a look. Yeah, it's working as it should. So this is fixed into place with some M3 8mm cap fixings, which I just so happen to have ready. What size tool am I going to need for that? And it's that one. So let's get this, spin this around. Go in here first. Try and find the hole. Yes, it's found the hole. Again, keep it loose for now, just to allow us to have a bit of movement. Just feel that with my hand first. And then last one. Now we can go around and tighten all of those up. Right, so let's do this now. So we can glue, again, this is literally just glued into place. Have to go around the edge of this. Like that, and then one of these, just gluing it on the edge. Just a nice tight fit. Just going to give that a little bit of a tap. That's it. Just make sure that looks right. It does look right. And there, that's it. When that glue goes off, that'll be perfect. So that's that. On to the next part. Okay, so we've got two hatches, and you'll see, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but there's an angle here, and they sit perfectly like that. And just to make sure, line them up inside the opening itself, and then that'll tell you that you've got the right, because this half is slightly narrower than this, or slightly smaller than this. And likewise, and there is only one way that these can go in, and that's it. No handles on these or anything, but there is a couple of, looks like a couple of dummy fixings to go in here, which I guess it's just for detailing. Again, I've looked at my reference book, and there is something here that, or certainly fixings here, possibly for the inside lock of the hatch and everything else, but obviously we don't get that as part of the kit. Right, so what am I going to do first? First things first. Let's put these little fixings in while we can. So these are, again, just little 2.5 gauge. What are these now? These are 8mm countersunk fixings. And little nut that goes on the back of that. Again, it's just for detailing. And you ask why I'm putting thread locker on it. Just imagine if this worked itself loose and these nuts got lost inside the hole, or even got into some of the electronics. So I don't want these working themselves loose in the future. So that thread locker is going to do the job. So that's that. Get this one done. I haven't tested it yet, I promise you I haven't tested it, but I am a little bit anxious about how this is going to fit and whether it's going to line up with those little lugs that we put on last time. And the last fixing. Okay, so I found the pins. These are 30mm, 2.5mm gauge, and just checking to make sure that they go in okay, and they do. And I'm also going to just check the fit on that. That's quite tight, and I want these flaps, because there's no handles on them, I want them to work correctly. So let's just check them all, make sure. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I won't do this on film, but I'm just letting you know, I'm going to come and actually use a file and put it in my vise. I'm just going to file the edges of these down a little bit, just so that they run inside the second part of the hinge more loosely, because at the moment it's too tight. I wouldn't be happy with that. So let me go and do that, and I'll be back. Right, so they're all done. Let's just test them now to see. Look at that, that's so much better. I want them to be loose. So I'm really happy with that. Let's just pair these off so I don't forget what one goes with what. Now, time to install the hinges. So we've got these 30mm M2.5 gauge pins. Just making sure that that fits, and it does. Let's pop that on there. I'm going to get a wooden block. So I can use that to drive the pin in. Just going to tap it in ever so gently. It will go. There we go. It's in. And that's articulated beautifully. And what I'll do them all first, and I'll just put a little dab of super glue on the ends just to stop that pin from riding out. Same thing again. Obviously goes without saying, I'm sure, but make sure you put the hinge on the right way round. Let's just try and line that up. Oh, it's very satisfying when it goes in. So that's that. Next one. Again, beautifully articulated. And the last one. Perfect. Right, so we can lose the block. And now I'm just going to put just a little dab of glue just on the end like that. And all that does is just stops the pin from riding out. Do that on all four. And that's that. Wait for the glue to go off, and then we can put these on. Okay, that's the glue gone off. So I'm going to put this one on first. This is the one without the screws on this side. And these are fixed into place with 10mm M2.5 button fixings, which go through that, down through the top plate, spin that around as we usually do, and then spin a nut on the other end. And thread locker is definitely required here. I'm just gonna, I think I can tighten that up now, so that this aligns itself because it's recessed. So So that's that. And I'm putting these on last because obviously they flap about. So I didn't want, when I was doing the other part, I didn't want these flapping around too much. Not that they're going to get damaged or anything like that, but it's just a pain. Alright, come on. Okay. That's what we call a naughty nut. I may have to slacken these off in a little while, but we'll see how we get on. Keep looking at these, the overrun of these fixings. I'm definitely going to get the Dremel out before I do anything else. Once I've got all the other parts on this, I'm going to get the Dremel out and then right, okay. This could be the first entry into the new bloopers version. What is going on here? There we go. Right, so that's that. Look at that, just beautifully. Operating beautifully. Then we put the opposing one on. It's a bit stiff. Tell you what I'll do. I'm going to put a little bit of dry lube on that. And wow, look at that. All of a sudden, what a difference. Fantastic. Right. So that one goes on that side. And I'm going to try and put two nuts in, or two fixings in. Try and be a bit ambitious. Spin that over. Wind it on. Yeah, another one. So we'll just get that. Sorry, I didn't realise I pushed it out of camera view. Oh, these nuts are so fiddly. I'm making this look harder than it is, I promise you. Don't know what it is, just sometimes they go on. What I do is I take that one away, put another one, and then hopefully, yeah, like that. Okay, so that's not fitting that well, so I need to slacken these off a little bit. Slacken the other ones off. It's not sitting down as it should. It's a bit tight for my liking, but it's just, I'm going to unwind those. Then I'm going to hold that, pulling it away from the other one, and then retighten those up. That's better. So just tighten those other ones up as well. Perfect. Do exactly the same on this side. Okay, so they're both done now. We've still got to put these little viewers on, but before I do that, I'm going to spin this over, and I'm going to go around and use my Dremel to take all these extended parts of these fasteners off. So I'll try and turn the volume down, but again, I've got my goggles on, so excuse the noise. And that is it. That's so much better. I'm just not going to clean all that off, because obviously all this has got to be primed. That's so much better. I just don't like having all these long parts of the fastener on show, because you never know, you could end up snagging yourself or snagging a wire. There's a lot of electronics that sit underneath this. Just making sure there's no sharp edges, and that's all good. So that is that. Really pleased with that. Give this a bit of a clean, wipe over, and that's that. While I was fixing these and sorting these out, I put these little lifting lugs on as well, so they're on. Now let's have a look at putting these little viewports on. So as I said already, I've already sort of cleaned up the edges of these. So I've got some aluminium square section left over, as I said, from a previous build. I'm going to use that to elevate it so that I've got a surface to line these up on. That's it. So when I put these in now, they can only go so far. Right, first things first, glue. Put the little viewports, and make sure that where you're going to paint it to look like glass is facing out. Just going to hit it on the edge. Oops. So that's going to go in there like. A little bit tight, so it just needs a little bit of persuasion. That is super tight. What I'll just do is just check this next one. Now that one's alright. No, it's not. Same thing. Just a little bit tight, but again, with a little bit of encouragement, it will go in. Again, I'm just making sure that the viewport is facing out. Classic. It's alright, recovered. I can go in the bloopers as well. I don't know what's going on with this episode. That's it, that's in. And same again, just on the edges now. Try not to get it on the bottom because you will be sticking it to that, whatever you've got to prop it up with. Just trying to get it on the sides as well. All right. That's that. And the last one. I actually haven't, I missed this one. I should have used, I'm going to just go quickly on my bench grinder now and just take these sharp edges off of that. Okay, that's done. Same deal, just a bit of glue on the edge. Lid back on that, and then just try and get the glue on both surfaces. Just let that set, and then while we've got this out, we've just got the mortar launcher or grenade launcher. That just needs to be glued in place. And as I said before, I've already cleaned these parts up. And again, just need to... Oops. Okay, here comes another moment of truth moment. Well, it fits beautifully. Now, the question is, I can't see from here, let's just drop this down. Can you see that? Right, yes you can. Whoa! Oh my word. The whole, I mean this one's slightly out, but it's not a problem, I could probably adjust that. But they're bang on. They're absolutely square to the holes. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect. I mean, oh, that one's all right. Do you know what? I'm chuffed to bits with that. I was a little bit worried. But anyway, that is another testament to the quality and the engineering and the design and the thought process that Armortek put into these amazing kits. So now, the thinking behind, let me think. So, I'm not so sure these were welded. I will check my reference book. I don't think they were. If that's the case, that's great. So what I'm thinking is I may or may not put all 5 fixings in, or I may just put a couple in just to keep that lid down, but then put some dummy fixings in so it's a lot easier for me to just, if I need to, just lift the whole thing off and get full access into all my electronics. So I've got absolute complete access. Say 90% of this is going to be accessible by the time I take off this back panel here and this top panel. I've got full access to everything I'm going to need. Oh, so pleased. I'm so pleased. So I can't tell you how important it is to, I can't reiterate how important it is to access all your electronics on these amazing vehicles. Right, so that's it. I'm going to pack away now, and then I'll come back to camera to talk about the next stage. I cannot get over how good this looks. Now with the roof on, I know I haven't fixed it yet, but with the roof on, the rear deck, this paint, oh, it's just amazing. I just love it. And I can't stop looking at it. And it's just so, I'm so chuffed with this. And I think Armortek have absolutely smashed it out of the park. And I think it's one of these kits that you really need to sort of be up close with, and if you're lucky enough to be able to work with, to really fully appreciate it. And I know there's a couple of my followers out there that you are building this, and I from the information that we've exchanged and the comments we've had, it's clear that you also love building this kit. It's a bit special, it really is. I love it. Anyway, enough of that. If you've enjoyed today's video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, because we've still got a lot more work to do on this. For instance, we're not finished the build. I've got to do the skirtings and I've got to do the front mud guards. I think there's a light to go on, there's other bits to go on this. It's all the tools that need to be built and painted. And of course, the tracks got to go back on. I've got all the electronics to do. I've got some detailing I want to share with you as well to bring this up another level. So if you are new to my channel, please subscribe, because there's a lot more to see on this particular build series. And also, if you do get a chance, check out my membership option. It's a very small amount of money, and it's the only way I've been able to get the bloopers video uploaded. By the time you see this, I'm hoping the bloopers video will be on there. It's worth a watch. It's just me embarrassing myself and using a lot of profanity, which it's not something I normally do, but obviously when you're building one of these, it's what I call the tanker's curse. So please check that out, and in return I will then start loading up some special material on that membership channel. You know, I'm thinking about doing a video a month behind the scenes, more bloopers, some planning ones of what I do to plan my next stage of the build, and just general sort of chit chat, sort of stuff that I wouldn't ordinarily load up on my normal channel. So if you could support, that'd be amazing. I am monetized on YouTube, but it's a very small amount of money. It is a very small amount of money. I don't do it for the money. I do it because I love this hobby and I love sharing it with you. So please, if you can, support. If not, don't worry. Still, you know, keep following me, please, on my channel. Keep that support coming. I'm so grateful for all the support I get, all those subscriptions, all those thumbs up, and all those wonderful comments I get. I really do appreciate everything. I'll sign off now by saying I am Tony. I love building these kits, and I look forward to seeing you in my next session. I can't wait to get started on the welding. So I'll see you soon.